Hey guys, Justin here with JHart Modelworks. We finally have some significant progress on the 37 Ford pickup from Revell Monogram. I'm excited to share that with you for our first major update on that project. But first, we have a shop card. Kyle over at RKD Scaleworks sent us this fantastic card, as well as some very kind words on the back. Thank you very much, Kyle. I appreciate it. Now, this is the third time that Kyle has sent this card to me because I typed my address wrong and I didn't check it the second time he sent it. Sorry about that, Kyle. But it's here. We got it. It's a great looking card. He's got some fantastic builds on here. He's got some great builds, period. He also sent us a sticker, which that's going to make its way onto the project box somewhere. Some fantastic stuff. He's new to YouTube. I don't know that he's necessarily a new builder, but he is new to YouTube. He's only been on for about 3 months, and he's got about 250 subscribers. So I'm sure that we can go and help him out with that. I would greatly appreciate it if you did. I will go ahead and put his link up there. Yeah, that's right. I'm in the kitchen again, so I know exactly where that link's going to be. It'll also always be down in the description below. Great stuff. He just finished a 24-hour build. He did an RX-7. I would have no idea how to do a 24-hour build. I thought the 48-hour group build was crazy. 24 is insane. That's impressive. It is a very nice looking RX-7 too. Very cool. He does quite a bit of JDM stuff, but he does a mix of stuff. He's done an old, I want to say it's a Johan Cadillac, really old. He's done the 37 Ford pickup that we're building right now. He did a great job on the pickup truck. He does a lot of IndyCar stuff, which he's got some great looking Indy cars. But my favorite is the Pete Brock 240Z. That is really cool. You'll know I love my old school JDM stuff, and the 240 is a beautiful car. So give him a check out. His link will be up there. It will also always be down there. It's going to be RKD Scaleworks. Definitely give him a check out. Hopefully you give him a subscription and help him out. Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and get this camera flipped around, and we're going to take a look at this 37 Ford. Alright guys, we're going to start with some engine and frame related stuff. This is the original engine that I showed you last week during the shop card shout out for Vinny. And it looks really good. This is at 40% of the original size, which puts us right at 1/25th scale. This is our frame. So this is what I was talking about. If I take and put the end of the transmission in place, like so, I have to wedge the crankshaft pulley into place. And that just, it doesn't make me overly, I mean, it fits. The radiator's going to sit up here. There's room. It will work. The mounts don't sit exactly where they should. They're a little bit too far forward. It's just a little too big, which tells me that Revell's 1/25th isn't exactly 1/25th. This is the third attempt to print this engine. So I actually printed it at 38%. Built it up, it looked great. I dropped it, it hit the floor, and it shattered because 3D printed resin is brittle. I could probably pick up some Soraya Tech Tenacious and mix it in with the fast that I use, and that would make it less brittle. I don't really want to do that though. So here is the third printing. So this is also at 38%. Honestly, I kind of like this one a little better. It's mostly the same, but it is just slightly smaller. So when I sit this into place, you see I have plenty of room, and the engine mounts sit right up on the edge of the frame like they should. I did have to widen the sides of the frame just a little bit to get it to fit the just the very edges of the engine mounts, but that should all be really good. We've got our front radiator hoses in place. That should be about where they line up. If not, I can trim them back. And I don't have the headers on yet. Kind of have a little bit of stuff I want to plan out. I want to look a little bit more at how those headers are going to sit. I think they're going to sit the way I want them to. There they go. So these should sit okay. Go ahead and get that like that. That should sit in there, and those sit right on that very edge. I may try to reprint these. I may bring them in. I may try to bring them in at least about maybe a millimeter on each side, just to kind of scoot it just a little bit over. But we will see. That's why these are not glued in yet, because I'm still looking at that. Again, we do have the alternator instead of the old school generator, so we can do a 12-volt changeover. We have our upper radiator hose mounts up here on the front. We're all plumbed up on a modern distributor. And instead of using wire looms, I used some of the 34 gauge black wire and just wrapped it around this 32 gauge yellow and tied it off, put some glue in the middle of the knot, and cut it off so that there's just a little bit left on the ends so it looks like zip ties. So that's going to wrap up our engine stuff. We have our frame. It is painted in the body color, but it is not clear coated. We also have our front axle as well as our rear axle. These are painted up as well. Now my plan is not to leave the drive shaft in black, but what we've got going on is the drive shaft's going to sit like this. So when we go to put this engine in place, it may not fit just right. Let's see. Come on. It might, actually. It might fit better than I thought it was going to. Actually, that's going to sit surprisingly well. Alright, well, regardless, the original plan was to do this in a gold for the drive shaft. My current plan is to cut it right about here and cut it right about here, right at that little ridge. I'm going to replace it with some brass tubing. That's the plan, 3.5 millimeter outer diameter brass tubing. And I think that will look pretty cool. We still have some more suspension components to paint up. but I wanted to get these parts painted up because I was painting them in body color. And it's a good thing I did because I ran out of the body color. I sprayed an entire bottle of Scale Finishes House of Colors Oriental Blue on this one build. I usually go through like maybe half a bottle, maybe a little bit more, whole bottle on this build. But I sprayed a lot of extra parts too. So there's the body, there's, you know, the front and rear axles, there's the frame. There's also these really cool, I think those are 20 or 22 inch artillery style wheels from ZForce Modelworks. So I downloaded his design off of Colts 3D. I will try to remember to put a link to him down in the description below. But those are absolutely beautiful. It is a multi-part design. You have the inner wheel, and this is the spare. This is the one that's going to go on the side of the truck. So I went in and I drilled out. I should have, when I printed it, I should have made holes that just went through it where the lug nuts are. I forgot to do it, and I already had these painted. And like I said, I am out of paint, so I couldn't, you know, print up another one and just paint it. But I went through and I drilled out 0.5 millimeter holes, and then I just kind of went in and hit them with some silver. I used actually one of these Display silver markers, and these things are really cool. It's an acrylic paint marker. It's not a Sharpie. It's an actual paint marker. It's an alcohol-based acrylic, and that kind of got me some wear and tear in there, as well as scrape areas on the bolts. So it looks more realistic as opposed to having, you know, lug nuts. You wouldn't have lug nuts on the spare on the side of the truck. So you get this piece, and then you get a separate trim piece, which makes it really easy to paint in your chrome of choice, or whatever other color you want. Now there is a, right there, I don't know what happened, something got in the black base and I didn't clean it up, but that's okay, because this is the spare. You also get these really cool hubcaps, which I am not sure if I'm going to use or not, because I really kind of like the lug nuts, and you'll lose the lug nuts, but we shall see. You also get these low profile tires. Now you may see there's a little bit of an edge there. That's because that's, okay, so it's actually 5 pieces. I forgot about that. The inner portion there is a separate part. It comes out and you can paint it white. So if you wanted to do a white wall, it was designed to be a white wall. You can paint that part white before you set it into the tire, and it makes it a lot easier to do your white walls. I'm not going for the white wall look. It is a very low profile tire as it is. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit, smooth out these lines, and then I'm going to go in and paint just the whole thing in tire black, or rubber black from Tamiya. So the kit wheels are actually smaller wheels. They're probably like a 16. But the tires themselves are larger than the outer diameter of these tires. So I'm not entirely certain how these are going to look. I think they should look good. They should be fine. I will, you know, give it a second look as soon as I get everything ready. As soon as I get the chassis kind of assembled so that I can put the wheels on it and see how it's going to sit, I will get a better feel for it. But I think this should sit about right. It may sit the truck just a little bit lower. That'll be fine. But all in all, these are going to work out, I'm pretty certain. But yeah, you just drop your wheel in there. Did that backwards. So yeah, once you get your wheel assembled, you just drop your wheel in, and it's going to look like that. and it's going to be nice and awesome. Okay, so moving along, we now have the body, and I am really happy with how the body came out. This is House of Colors Oriental Blue Candy from Scale Finishes, and I put it over the Mr. Surfacer 1500 black primer, and so there's like 3 coats of Mr. Surfacer, and I went crazy. I went chasing down, sanding, and there's 3 base coats plus a whole bunch of repairs. I went and found every flaw I could find in that primer, and I fixed it until I got a really, really perfectly primed, just beautiful primer layer. I then put down 3 coats of House of Colors Orion Silver, also from Scale Finishes. You can get House of Colors from other places, and I don't know what it is about Scale Finishes. It's like he's using smaller flake or something, but all of his House of Colors stuff comes scaled properly instead of it looking like you sprayed car paint, like 1-to-1 automotive paint. It's just, it has a really bad scale to it when you use automotive, like the full size flake. It just looks too big. The Scale Finishes stuff, you can see this is absolutely perfect. So after the 3 coats of the Orion Silver, there are 3 coats of the Oriental Candy Blue, and I went through, like I said earlier, an entire bottle of the Oriental Candy Blue, but it's absolutely beautiful. I love this color. We went ahead and did the firewall in body color as well. And when I was prepping, I missed that sink mark. I can't strip it and respray it. For one, I'll probably never match the color properly. But 2, I'm out of the blue, so I can't strip it and respray it. What I will likely do is I will take a tiny square or rectangle of soda can aluminum, and I'm going to sand it so that it's paper thin. I'm going to spray like a black rectangle in the center and then scrape out to make it look like lettering. Now I know those plates would actually, there would be one here and there would be one here, but I'm going to put one on this side, and hopefully it will be enough to cover up that sink mark. Just hide your sins. Sometimes that's what you got to do. We also painted our dashboard in the body color, which I have drilled out a 0.5 millimeter hole. There is a handle that raises and lowers your vent on the 1-to-1 truck. So I'm going to, there's one in the kit. I don't overly love the one in the kit. I may pin the one in the kit with a 0.5 millimeter pin. What I'll most likely do is just 3D model and print up my own little handle to try and make it look a little nicer than the one that's in the kit. The kit part is a chrome part, and they put like a clear layer underneath the chrome, so it's just too thick and you lose all the definition of the part. So I think I can 3D model one that will look nicer. Maybe. We'll see. We have our sideboards, which we did in the same blue, of course. Those look really good. We have the front of the bed. I'm not sure which side is front. There's a little notch here that is off center, and it lines up with a slot on the bed. So you have to put it in right. So we'll get it in right eventually. And we have the tailgate, which again, I'm really happy with how that turned out. That looks really good. Now there were some sinks in the back, and the sink marks lined up with that Ford logo. Now rather than messing with them and trying to fill them and sand them and get it cleaned up, what I did was I just took a sheet of the soda can aluminum, got it as flat as I could get it. It's not perfect, you can see. but I just cut it to fit right around where that, you know, just enough to cover that whole thing, and glued it into place, and I think it looks good. You know, you don't have the sinks, you don't have anything like that, and I still think it looks nice. We also have our hood, which came out beautiful. We have our slats all cut out. You can kind of see back there how you can see through those. Can't really see through them as well from this side, but you know, they're all the way through, so that looks good. And I did just a little bit of bare metal foil. I did that V8 logo on the side, as well as the, I believe those open the hood. I think those are like latches to open the hood. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what they are. So I went ahead and did those in some bare metal foil as well, just to kind of give it a little bit of something extra. So that is going to take us to the chassis, which I have not painted the bed yet. I did get some silver overspray in here, so I will respray the primer on the underside before I do the wood for the bed. And we have our front end for our grill surround, also in the Oriental blue. And then we have the fenders. I love how the fenders turned out. I don't know if this is going to show up on the camera or not, but we're going to try it. Yeah, there it is. So those fenders look black until the light hits them just right. So the fenders are painted the same way that the cab is. Same Mr. Surfacer primer, 3 coats of Orion silver, 3 coats of Oriental blue. I then hit it with 2 coats, like medium coats, like not the really light coats that I do for the body color, but I did it 2 medium coats of Splash Paints Candy Black, and it's just enough so that after I 2K cleared it, I used Spray Gunner's 2K clear. So after I cleared it, when the light hits it just right, just like you can see right there in that highlight, it just, that blue comes out and it looks beautiful. I'm super happy that that came out the way it was supposed to. Again, we have the rear fenders that we did the exact same way. Nice, deep, rich blue. So those look great. I'm super happy with this paint job. This has to be the best paint job I think I have done so far. There is almost no dust in it. There is a tiny bit you can see right there in that highlight. A tiny little nub. There's not there. I think it's this one. There's also a tiny little dust nib. Yeah, right there. And just kind of catch it right there. So that's going to be fairly easy to polish out as long as I'm careful. And there's a tiny little bit of dust. You can't even make that out in the camera. Looks like right there. Yeah, you just catch it in that highlight right there. That's all the dust that I can see, or at least all the dust that I can see that is somewhere where I would definitely want to take care of it. Otherwise, this has just been a fantastic paint job. Everything went perfect. So Wednesday was my birthday, and I had the body primered up. It was ready to go. I got to work because I didn't request a day off. I got to work, was talking to one of my bosses, and she's like, how you doing? And I'm like, I don't want to be here. And she's like, well, that's not really the attitude to have about work. And I'm like, well, it's my birthday. She's like, why are you here? I'm like, I forgot to request the time off in advance, so I normally don't work on my birthday, but I'm here. She's like, go back to your desk. Send me an email. Tell me you don't feel good and you're going home, because we already know that you were sick Monday, so just go home. Okay, fine. So I came home and I spent the whole day in paint, and it just, every coat went down exactly how I wanted it to go. I had no fighting with anything. It was just absolutely a fantastic day. I had a lot of fun painting. It's when the paint job just goes really, really well, it's absolutely awesome. So that is where we are at so far. Oh, that's not where we're at so far, because we're not done. I forgot about some things. I've done some 3D designing and printing. All right, so these are the kit door handles. These are the interior door handles. And these are the kit's window cranks. They're not bad. There's some flash in there that would be impossible to clean up. It's not like you're really going to see them. They're interior parts, but, it kind of is what it is. I kind of thought, they're okay. I thought I could do a little better. Here they are. So these are the exterior door handles. They're not terrible. They're pretty bland, kind of generic. I mean, they'd work. So I went and hit Rhinoceros, and I did some 3D modeling of my own exterior door handles, which I just kind of gave them that sort of swoop to them. I thought that would be really cool. It would just be a really nice look to go with this truck. So the way I designed them, there is a small little post. All right, so you've got the handle part. There's a little ball at the end. It goes down to the base, and then there's a small post right there that should fit perfectly inside our opening. Oh, I've got a loose one in here. Yes. I believe this is one of the exterior ones. Nope, that's an interior one. Oh well. No, that may be exterior. Yeah. How cool is that? That's gonna look nice. My opinion, but in my opinion, that's gonna look really nice. So that's the exterior door handles. To go along with them, I did the same door handles, but slightly smaller. I'm probably going to end up having to reprint these because I've knocked most of them off. We'll have to see if I have one to go the other direction, because they are kind of directional. But it's the same door handle, it's just slightly smaller. And those are going to be for the interior. And of course, it wouldn't be one of my builds without some window cranks. So I went ahead and did up a set of my window cranks. I haven't painted the knobs yet. I'm going to go ahead and hit those knobs with some blue. And I think those will look cool too. Again, I may have to print up another set because I don't know. I've only got one spare for the door handles, so they should go in well, but if they don't, I may need some spares. All right, we're almost done. not quite. One last thing to go over. On the interior, you guys remember from the unboxing? Maybe you don't, so I'm going to go ahead and put a picture right about there. The seat on the interior, in my opinion, that's pretty sad. That is really sad. I wanted to do something with the 3D printing. I ended up telling myself, you know what, Justin, you don't ever scratch build anymore. All you do is 3D printing. So I went ahead and got some 2mm half round, and I spent a couple of hours doing my own tuck and roll seat. Is it perfect? No. It's the first time I've done one of these though, so it was a fun exercise. I basically took and I cut pieces, I rounded the ends off, and I glued them down with some Tamiya extra thin, let that set for a bit, glued, because there's a slight curve to that back, so I then went and glued this half, the upper half, so that it would follow that curve, and let that set for a bit. And then I hit the tops with some heat, with a heat gun, and bent it over and glued it down to the top of that rail, and then just cut it off along that rail. Now I started out doing them one at a time, and yeah, you can kind of see the difference from where I was doing them one at a time, and then when I decided to just cut a whole bunch of them and sand off the ends and glue them all down to the back, and then glue them in place, and then glue the top in place, so it looks a little bit different there, but I don't think it's going to be so much that you're going to notice it once it's inside the truck. Alright, so that is where we are with it so far. So my plans from this point are to go ahead and focus on finishing up the suspension, so for the front and the rear suspension, and get the frame built up and the chassis kind of sorted. I also want to focus on doing the wood bed and get that painted up. That way, once I get the frame all wrapped up and the suspension, I can drop that into place and see how that's going to sit and make sure everything looks good and make sure everything sits nice and flat. And from there, we'll focus on whatever comes next. So that's going to be a wrap for this video. Once again, guys, go check out Kyle at RKD Scaleworks. Give him a sub. Welcome him to the community. Thanks for hanging out with me. I always appreciate you watching the videos, and I will catch you guys on the next one.